Prince William's shocking decision after a guard intercepted a suspicious package addressed to Louis. Staff members moved with care, following routines they had practiced for years. Guards stood at their posts, alert but relaxed, used to days that passed without incident. Prince William woke early, as he often did, and prepared for a schedule filled with meetings and family time. Nothing about the day felt unusual at first. Prince Louis was already awake, full of energy. He laughed as he played with a small toy on the floor, unaware of anything beyond his happy world. Catherine watched him closely, smiling, enjoying a peaceful moment before the demands of the day began. For Prince William, these quiet moments with his children were precious. They reminded him why balance mattered, even with all the responsibility on his shoulders. Outside the private family area, the palace operated like a well-organized system. Deliveries arrived at specific times, each one logged, checked, and cleared before moving inside. Most packages came from known senders, official offices, charities, or trusted contacts. The process was routine, but never careless. Guards were trained to notice even the smallest detail that seemed out of place. That morning, a guard stationed at the security checkpoint noticed a package that looked ordinary at first glance. It was medium-sized, neatly wrapped, and addressed clearly, but something about it made him pause. The label was handwritten, which was unusual for official deliveries. The return address was vague, missing details that were normally required. The guard didn't panic. He didn't raise his voice. He simply followed protocol. He quietly set the package aside and signaled to a senior officer. Together, they examined it more closely without opening it. The weight felt slightly uneven. The writing on the label seemed rushed, as if done without care. Most concerning was the name written on the front, Prince Louis. Personal mail addressed directly to a young child was rare and always treated with extra caution. The atmosphere at the checkpoint shifted instantly. The usual light conversation stopped. Movements became slower, more careful. The package was placed in a secure container, and the area was gently cleared without causing alarm. Staff nearby were redirected with calm instructions. No one wanted to create fear, especially not near the family. Within minutes, senior security officials were informed. The system worked smoothly, as it was designed to. Prince William was notified through a secure channel. At that moment, he was reviewing documents for an upcoming engagement. When he received the message, his expression changed. He remained calm, but his focus sharpened. As a future king, he had been trained for crisis situations. As a father, his heart reacted faster than his mind. He stood up quietly and asked for more information. The message was brief but clear. A suspicious package had been intercepted, and precautions were being taken. He was advised to pause all movements until further notice. Prince William nodded, understanding the seriousness without needing details. He thanked the official and ended the call. He walked toward the family area, his steps measured. When he entered the room, Catherine noticed his face immediately. She knew that look, the look that meant something was wrong, even if he wasn't saying it yet. He reassured her softly, telling her there was a small security matter being handled. He did not mention the package yet. He did not want to worry her or the children without reason. Still, his eyes drifted to Prince Louis, who was now focused on stacking blocks. The contrast between the child's innocence and the situation unfolding outside was difficult to ignore. Prince William felt a familiar ache in his chest. He had grown up in a world where attention was constant, and safety was never taken for granted. He had hoped to shield his children from that reality for as long as possible. Security teams continued their work quietly. Specialists were called in to assess the package using non-intrusive methods. Every step was careful, controlled, and respectful. The goal was safety, not fear. Palace leadership was informed, but the flow of information was kept tight to avoid unnecessary concern. As time passed, the palace seemed quieter than usual. Staff spoke in lower voices. Doors closed more softly. Even those who did not know the details sensed that something important was happening. This was the unseen side of royal life, the constant vigilance that rarely made headlines but never truly stopped. Prince William stayed close to his family. He played with his children, listened to their stories, and smiled when they laughed. But inside, his thoughts were racing. He wondered who would send something directly to his son. He wondered whether this was a mistake, a misunderstanding, or something more serious. Most of all, he wondered what this moment meant for the future. He thought about his own childhood, growing up under watchful eyes, protected yet exposed at the same time. He remembered moments of fear mixed with confusion, times when security felt overwhelming rather than comforting. He had promised himself that his children would have a different experience, one that felt warmer, more normal, more human. A senior security officer eventually requested a private meeting. Prince William stepped into a secure room, listening carefully as the situation was explained in calm, measured words. The package had not been opened. Initial checks suggested no immediate danger, but the investigation was ongoing. The officer emphasized that the interception was successful and that protocols had worked exactly as intended. Prince William thanked the team sincerely. He knew the pressure they carried every day. He also knew that even the best systems could not remove uncertainty completely. As he left the room, he felt the weight of leadership pressing down on him, not as a title but as a responsibility. The rest of the morning passed slowly. Activities were adjusted, schedules softened. Prince Louis remained happily unaware, surrounded by care and warmth. That, more than anything, strengthened Prince William's resolve. Whatever the outcome of the investigation, this moment had already changed something inside him. He looked out a window at the quiet grounds and realized that being a protector was not just about reacting to danger. It was about making choices before fear had a chance to grow. The intercepted package was small, silent, and contained, but the questions it raised were much larger. As the palace waited for answers, one thing was clear. This was no longer just a routine security matter. It was the beginning of a moment that would force Prince William to rethink where the line between duty and family should truly be drawn. The hours after the package was intercepted felt longer than they really were. Inside the palace, everything continued on the surface, but underneath, a careful process was unfolding. Security teams worked quietly, moving with purpose and discipline. Nothing was rushed. Every action followed clear steps designed to protect the family and everyone inside the building. The package had been moved to a secure location far from living areas. Special equipment was used to examine it without opening it. Screens showed its shape, layers, and contents. Experts studied the images closely. They spoke in low voices, pointing out details and asking careful questions. Their goal was simple: understand what they were dealing with without taking any risks. Prince William stayed informed but did not interfere. He trusted the people trained for this work. Still, waiting was not easy. He checked his phone often, even though he knew updates would come when there was something meaningful to report. Between those moments, he tried to remain present with his family. He sat with Catherine, listened to her thoughts, and shared his own concerns in calm, measured words. Catherine remained strong, but like any parent, she felt a quiet worry settle in her chest. She watched Prince Louis closely, noticing how carefree he was, how unaware of the situation. That innocence made the situation feel heavier. They both agreed to keep the mood light for the children, protecting them from fear as much as possible. Around the palace, staff members adjusted their routines. Some meetings were delayed. Some visits were quietly postponed. No announcements were made and no explanations were given beyond what was necessary. This kind of control was part of palace life, but it still felt different when the concern involved a child. Prince William took a short walk through a private corridor, accompanied by a single guard. The familiar walls, the artwork, and the quiet steps usually brought him comfort. Today, they made him think. He reflected on how much had changed since his own childhood. The world felt faster now, louder, and more unpredictable. Even simple things, like a package, could carry unknown meaning. He remembered his mother's efforts to give him a sense of normal life despite constant attention. He remembered moments of joy mixed with moments of confusion. Those memories shaped the father he wanted to be. He wanted his children to feel safe, not watched, free, not controlled by fear. As the investigation continued, the security team identified more details. The materials inside the package appeared harmless. There were no signs of danger, no hidden components that raised alarms. Still, one question remained unanswered. Who had sent it, and why was it addressed directly to Prince Louis? That question mattered. Even without danger, intent mattered. A package sent to a child, especially one so well known, crossed an unspoken line. It suggested access, attention, and a desire to reach into the private world of a family that already lived under constant observation. Prince William was called into another briefing. This time, more information was shared. The package contained items that seemed symbolic rather than harmful. There was no immediate threat, but the choice of recipient was deliberate. The sender's identity was still unclear, and tracing it could take time. Prince William listened carefully. His expression remained steady, but inside his thoughts grew heavier. He thanked the team again and asked a simple question. Had any similar incidents happened before? The answer was yes, but rarely involving children directly. That fact stayed with him. When he returned to his family, Prince Louis ran toward him, laughing, arms open. Prince William picked him up, holding him close. In that moment, titles and roles faded. He was not a public figure or a future king. He was a father holding his child, feeling the weight of responsibility in a very personal way. The rest of the afternoon passed with quiet caution. The children played indoors. Windows were checked. Guards maintained their positions with increased awareness. No one panicked. No one raised alarms, but the sense of alertness remained, like a low hum in the background. As evening approached, Prince William and Catherine sat together after the children had settled. They spoke openly, honestly, and calmly. They discussed what this incident meant, not just for today, but for the years ahead. They talked about boundaries, exposure, and how much of their children's lives should be shared with the public. Prince William admitted something he had not said out loud before. He feared that waiting for something worse to happen before making changes would be a mistake. This incident, though contained, felt like a warning, not a threat, but a reminder that safety could never be assumed. Catherine listened carefully. She agreed that protection was not just about guards and walls. It was about choices, habits, and limits. They both knew that any decision they made would be noticed and discussed, but they also knew that their responsibility to their children came first. Later that night, Prince William stood alone by a window, looking out at the dark grounds. The palace lights glowed softly behind him. He thought about leadership, about the kind of example he wanted to set. Strength, he believed, was not just about tradition or authority. It was about care, awareness, and the courage to adapt. The package itself was now almost an afterthought. It had done no harm, but its presence had opened a door to deeper reflection. Prince William understood that the world his children were growing up in required new approaches. Old rules might no longer be enough. As he prepared to rest, he felt a quiet determination settle in. Whatever decisions lay ahead, they would be guided by love, not fear. By thought, not reaction. The events of the day had tested his calm, but they had also clarified his priorities. The palace was quiet again, but inside Prince William's mind, a new path was forming. The intercepted package had not brought danger, but it had brought clarity. And that clarity would soon lead to choices that many would not expect. The next day began with a quiet kind of tension. Nothing unusual happened, yet everything felt different. Prince William woke early again, but his thoughts were already active before his feet touched the floor. The events of the previous day stayed with him, not as fear but as a steady reminder. Something small had revealed something much larger. Morning routines continued, but with subtle changes. Security checks were more careful. Schedules were lighter. Prince William noticed these things even when no one mentioned them. He also noticed how naturally his children adapted. Prince Louis laughed, played, and asked innocent questions about the day ahead. Watching him, Prince William felt both comfort and concern. Childhood should be simple. Protecting that simplicity suddenly felt like his most important duty. During breakfast, Prince William sat quietly, listening more than speaking. Catherine noticed this and gave him a gentle look. She understood that he was thinking deeply, not just reacting to a single event, but re-examining years of choices and expectations. Later, when the children left the room to play, she asked him how he was feeling. He answered honestly. He said he felt torn, not frightened, but alert. He explained that the intercepted package had made him realize how quickly attention could shift toward their children. Even without danger, the focus itself could shape their lives in ways he did not want. Catherine nodded. She felt the same. They both knew this conversation was only beginning. Later that morning, Prince William met privately with trusted advisors. This was not an official meeting. There were no formal notes or statements. It was a quiet discussion among people who understood both tradition and change. Prince William spoke openly about his concerns. He talked about the balance between public duty and private life. He asked questions rather than giving orders. Some advisors reminded him of tradition. Others spoke about modern challenges. They discussed how visibility had increased over the years, how social interest moved faster than ever before. Prince William listened carefully. He respected the past, but he also believed leadership meant adapting to the present. After the meeting, he took time alone. He walked through the gardens, choosing a path away from cameras and crowds. The fresh air helped clear his mind. He thought about his own upbringing again, about moments when he felt protected and moments when he felt exposed. He realized that while he could not remove public interest entirely, he could shape how his children experienced it. As the day passed, Prince William noticed something else. His thoughts were no longer focused on the package itself. They were focused on patterns, on how small events often came before bigger ones, on how waiting for clear danger before acting could sometimes be too late. This realization did not bring panic. It brought purpose. In the afternoon, he spent time with his children outdoors in a private area. He helped them run, laugh, and explore. For a while, the world felt normal again, but even in those joyful moments, his awareness remained. He watched the edges, the surroundings, the systems in place, not with fear but with responsibility. That evening, after the children were settled, Prince William and Catherine spoke again. This time, the conversation went deeper. They talked about the future, not just the next few weeks but the years ahead. School choices, public appearances, media exposure, traditions that could be adjusted quietly without causing disruption. Prince William shared something personal. He said that becoming a father had changed how he understood leadership. Before, decisions felt distant, measured through duty and expectation. Now, every choice carried a human weight. Every decision affected real lives, not symbols. Catherine agreed. She reminded him that protecting their children did not mean isolating them. It meant guiding them carefully, with intention. Together, they discussed the idea of setting firmer boundaries, not as a reaction but as a thoughtful step forward. As night fell, Prince William sat at his desk and reviewed old notes, past decisions, and established routines. He asked himself difficult questions. Were some traditions kept simply because they always had been? Were there better ways to protect without controlling? These questions did not have easy answers, but he was ready to face them. He also thought about public expectation. He knew that any visible change would be noticed. People would question motives. Some would agree, others would criticize. But leadership, he reminded himself, was not about pleasing everyone. It was about doing what was right, even when it required quiet courage. The following day brought more clarity. Security teams confirmed that the investigation into the package was complete. There was no further concern. The incident could now be officially closed. For many, this would have been the end of the story. For Prince William, it felt like the beginning of a new chapter. He thanked the teams again, acknowledging their professionalism and care. He made it clear that their work had prevented not just potential harm, but unnecessary fear. Their response had given him time to think, and that time had been valuable. As routine slowly returned, Prince William began to outline changes in his mind. Nothing dramatic. Nothing sudden. Just thoughtful adjustments that reflected a deeper understanding of modern risks and family needs. He did not rush. He knew that careful decisions lasted longer than quick reactions. One quiet afternoon, Prince Louis sat beside him, drawing pictures with bright colors. Prince William watched him and smiled. He realized that his greatest hope was simple, that his children would remember warmth more than worry, guidance more than pressure. That evening, as the palace lights dimmed, Prince William felt a calm determination. He was no longer wrestling with uncertainty. He was preparing for action, guided by reflection rather than fear. The intercepted package had not changed who he was, but it had sharpened his focus. He understood now that being a future king did not mean holding tightly to every old rule. It meant knowing when to protect, when to adapt, and when to lead quietly from the heart. The decisions forming in his mind would surprise some, but for him, they felt necessary. As he closed the day, Prince William felt ready. Ready to act not just as a guardian of tradition, but as a father who understood that the world had changed, and leadership had to change with it. The decision did not come in a single moment. It formed slowly, shaped by quiet thoughts, long conversations, and careful reflection. Prince William did not announce anything right away. He observed, listened, and waited until he felt sure. When the choice finally became clear to him, it felt calm, not dramatic. Still, he knew others would see it as unexpected. In the days following the closed investigation, palace life appeared normal again. Events resumed. Meetings were scheduled. Public duties continued. To the outside world, nothing seemed different, but behind the scenes, Prince William was preparing for change. He asked for private reports, not just about security, but about schedules, public exposure, and long-standing routines involving his children. He studied how often they appeared in public, how much information was shared, and how predictable their movements had become. Patterns, he realized, were not always safe. Even when there was no direct threat, predictability created weakness. This was not about fear, it was about awareness. Prince William met again with senior officials, this time with clearer purpose. He spoke firmly but respectfully. He explained that recent events had highlighted the need for updates. He did not criticize past systems. Instead, he acknowledged that times had changed and systems needed to change too. Some officials were surprised, others understood immediately. A few hesitated, concerned about tradition and public expectation. Prince William listened to all of them. Then he spoke again, calmly but with certainty. He said that protecting children was not a break from tradition. It was the responsibility behind it. He made it clear that certain routines involving his children would be adjusted. Public appearances would be fewer and more carefully planned. Information shared ahead of time would be limited. Private spaces would remain truly private. These changes would not be announced loudly. They would simply become the new normal. The most surprising part of his decision was not about security equipment or procedures. It was about boundaries. Prince William insisted that emotional well-being mattered as much as physical safety. He wanted his children to grow without constant awareness of attention. He wanted them to feel free to be children first, public figures later. Catherine supported him fully. She had reached the same conclusions on her own. Together, they spoke with staff, teachers, and caregivers. They explained the changes gently, making sure everyone understood the reasons. The focus was not secrecy, but care. Some people worried how the public would react. Prince William acknowledged this concern but remained steady. He said that public trust was built not only through visibility, but through honesty and responsibility. Protecting his children did not mean hiding them. It meant guiding their exposure with intention. As the changes were put into place, Prince William felt a sense of relief. The weight he had been carrying began to lift. For the first time since the Intercepted package, he felt aligned with his instincts as both a father and a leader. There were moments of doubt, of course. Late at night, he wondered if people would misunderstand his actions. He wondered if critics would say he was stepping away from tradition. But each time, he returned to the same thought. Leadership was not about repeating the past. It was about preparing for the future. The children noticed small changes too. Fewer interruptions, more quiet time, less movement from place to place. Prince Louis seemed especially happy, enjoying longer moments of play and calm. Watching this confirmed Prince William's belief that he had chosen the right path. One afternoon, Prince William was asked about future plans during a routine discussion. His answer was simple and honest. He said that his priority was balance. That answer did not make headlines, but it reflected everything he was doing behind the scenes. The palace adjusted smoothly. Staff adapted quickly. Security teams welcomed the updates, recognizing that thoughtful changes made their work more effective. There was no tension, only cooperation. The system evolved without noise. Prince William also made time to speak privately with people who had known him since childhood. He valued their perspective. Many of them reminded him that change had always been part of the institution, even if it happened slowly. Their support strengthened his confidence. As weeks passed, the decision no longer felt shocking to those around him. It felt natural. What had once seemed bold now felt obvious. The Intercepted package faded into memory, but its impact remained. Prince William stood one evening watching his children laugh together. The sound filled the room with warmth. In that moment he felt certain. He had not acted out of fear or pressure. He had acted out of love and responsibility. He knew challenges would come again. Leadership always brought new tests. But he also knew that he had learned something valuable. Sometimes, the most important decisions were not about reacting to danger, but about listening to quiet warnings and acting before harm could ever appear. The choice he made would shape the years ahead. It would influence how his children grew, how they saw the world, and how they understood their place in it. That mattered more than public opinion or tradition alone. As the day ended, Prince William felt grounded. The path forward was clearer now. He had drawn a line, not to keep the world out, but to protect what mattered most inside. And in doing so, he had shown a new kind of strength, one rooted in care, awareness, and quiet courage. Time passed, and the changes Prince William had quietly set in motion began to settle into everyday life. What once felt new and uncertain slowly became familiar. The palace moved with a different rhythm now, calmer, more intentional. There was still structure, still duty, but there was also more space for quiet moments, especially for the children. Prince William noticed the difference almost immediately. Mornings felt less rushed. Evenings felt more peaceful. The children laughed more freely, without interruptions or sudden changes in plans. Prince Louis, in particular, seemed lighter, more relaxed. He played longer, slept better, and asked simple questions about the world around him, the way children should. For Prince William, these small signs mattered more than any public reaction. They confirmed that his decision had been the right one. He did not need loud approval. He needed to know that his children felt safe and grounded. Public life continued, of course. Appearances were made, speeches delivered, responsibilities honored. But the way things were done had shifted slightly. Events involving the children were fewer and more thoughtful. When they did appear, it was with care, not expectation. The focus remained on their well-being, not on meeting routine or tradition for its own sake. Some people noticed the changes and talked about them. Some understood. Others questioned them. Prince William expected this. He did not respond to every comment or opinion. He believed that not every decision needed explanation. Sometimes, quiet consistency spoke louder than words. Behind closed doors, conversations continued. Prince William met regularly with advisors, educators, and security teams. These meetings were no longer about reacting to risk, but about planning for growth. They discussed how to guide the children through public life slowly, at a pace that respected their age and individuality. Prince William also spent more time reflecting on leadership. He understood now that leadership was not only about being seen. It was about making choices that might never be noticed, but still mattered deeply. The intercepted package, once a moment of concern, had become a lesson in awareness. He often thought back to that day, not with worry, but with clarity. The situation had been handled well. No harm had occurred. Yet the meaning of the moment had gone far beyond the object itself. It had reminded him that responsibility did not wait for disaster. It acted early, guided by care. Catherine remained a steady partner throughout. Together they shared the same goal, to raise their children with strength, kindness, and a sense of normal life. They spoke often about values, honesty, empathy, balance. They wanted their children to understand their place in the world without being defined by it too soon. As the months went by, Prince William noticed something else changing within himself. He felt more confident in his instincts. He trusted his judgment more fully. He no longer felt pulled in opposite directions by duty and family. Instead, he saw them as connected. Protecting his family strengthened his ability to serve. One quiet afternoon, Prince William walked through the gardens again, the same path he had taken during the days of uncertainty. This time, his thoughts were calm. He listened to the sounds around him, the wind, distant voices, the soft steps of guards keeping watch. Everything felt balanced. He realized that the palace had not lost anything by changing. If anything, it had gained something valuable, a renewed sense of purpose. Systems were stronger, boundaries were clearer. People worked with a shared understanding that safety included peace of mind. Prince Louis ran toward him across the grass, smiling, holding a small object he had found. Prince William knelt to listen as his son explained it with great importance. In that moment, nothing else mattered, not titles, not expectations, just presence. As the years moved forward, this approach continued. The children grew, learning about the world step by step. They were introduced to public life thoughtfully, guided by trust rather than pressure. They learned responsibility without fear, awareness without anxiety. Prince William knew challenges would come. Life always brought them. But he felt prepared now, not because everything was controlled, but because his priorities were clear. He had learned to listen, to signs, to instincts, to the quiet moments that asked for attention. Looking back, the intercepted package no longer felt like a threat. It felt like a message, not from a sender but from circumstance itself. A reminder that leadership was alive, evolving, and deeply human. Prince William did not speak publicly about the incident in detail. He did not need to. The results were visible in the calm confidence of his family and the steady strength of his choices. Sometimes, the most powerful decisions were the ones made without announcement. As the day came to a close, Prince William stood once more by a window, watching the lights settle across the grounds. He felt grateful, not for the challenge itself, but for the clarity it had brought. He had chosen a path rooted in care, foresight, and quiet courage. The future remained unwritten, as it always would, but he faced it with steady confidence, not just as a future king, but as a father who had learned that protecting what matters most is not a momentary action. It is a daily commitment made thoughtfully, lived quietly, and carried forward with purpose.